Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna to all devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shirvasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nasta Praishva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28. Kapila instruction on the execution of devotional service.
Thank you. And Lena can do the English translation if you like, huh? Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Of course I can.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Yogasya Lakshanam Vakshe Sabhijasya Nipatmaje Mano Yeneva Vidhina Prasannam Yati Satpatham.
The personality of Godhead said, "My dear mother, O daughter of the king, now I shall explain to you the system of yoga, the object of which is to concentrate the mind. By practicing this system, one can become joyful and progressively advance towards the path of the absolute truth."
Swadharmacharanam Shaktya Vidharmacha Nivartanam Daivalabdhena Santosha Atmavicharanarchanam.
One should execute his prescribed duties to the best of his ability and avoid performing duties not allotted to him. One should be satisfied with as much gain as he achieves by the grace of the Lord, and one should worship the lotus feet of a spiritual master.
Gramya dharma nivritischa moksha dharma ratistatha mitta midhyadanam sashvad vivikta kshema shevanam.
One should cease performing conventional religious practices and should be attracted to those which lead to salvation. One should eat very frugally and should always remain secluded so that he can achieve the highest perfection of life.
Ahimsa satyamasteyam yavad artha parigraha brahmacharyam tapah socham swadhyayah purusharchanam.
One should practice non-violence and truthfulness, should avoid thieving, and be satisfied with possessing as much as he needs for his maintenance. He should abstain from sex life, perform austerity, be clean, study the Vedas, and worship the supreme form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Maunam sad ashana jayah sthairyam prana jayah sanir pratyaharaschendriyanam vishayan manasahidi.
One must observe silence, acquire steadiness by practicing different yogic postures, control the breathing of the vital air, withdraw the senses from sense objects, and thus concentrate the mind on the heart.
स्वाधिष्ण्याणामेकदेशे मनसा प्राणधारणं वैकुण्ठलीलाभिध्यानं समाधानं तथात्मनः.
Fixing the vital air and the mind in one of the 6 circles of vital air circulation within the body, thus concentrating one's mind on the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Samadhi or Samadhana of the mind.
एतैरन्यैश्च पतिभिर्मनोदुष्टम् अषट्पथं बुद्ध्या युञ्जितः सनकैर्जित्तप्राणो हि यतन्द्रितः.
I think you're maybe muted, Lena.
Sorry. By these processes or any other true process, one must control the contaminated, unbridled mind, which is always attracted by material enjoyment, and thus fix himself in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so let's have a look at the summary of that. Over to you, Surendra Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaur Hare. So this is chapter 28, Kapila's instructions on the execution of devotional service, limbs of Astanga Yoga, verses 1 to 7. Kapila described the preliminary practice of yoga, which help one control the mind. Yama, moral discipline, means non-violence, truthfulness, refraining from theft, possessing only what is necessary, celibacy, study of the Vedas, silence. And then niyama, observances of developing virtues, execute prescribed duties to the best of ability, avoid performing duties not allotted, satisfied with what is achieved by Lord's grace, worshipping the lotus feet of his spiritual master, cessation of conventional religious practices, attracted to those who lead to salvation, eating frugally, remaining in secluded place, austerity, cleanliness, worshipping the Supreme Lord. Yes. Then the third one is physical postures, asana, attaining steadiness by mastering correct asanas. Fourth is pranayama, breathing techniques, controlling the breathing of vital air. And then fifth one is pratyahara, sense withdrawal, withdrawing senses from material objects, concentrate mind in the heart. Then sixth is dharana, concentration, fixing prana at one spot among the various chakras by mind. 7 is dhyana, absorption or meditation, meditating on the limbs of the Lord and Vaikuntha Leelas. 8 is samadhi, enlightenment or bliss, the state of the minds being virtually absorbed in the Lord. Yes. So these are the limbs of Astanga Yoga explained. And even in Bhagavad Gita, this process of Astanga Yoga is explained by Lord Shri Krishna. And but Arjuna said that it is easier to control the wind than controlling one's mind or something like that. And yeah, and so then Lord Shri Krishna says that with some practice and with some detachment, one will be able to control the mind. This is in a summary form what Krishna advised, with practice and detachment. And then we try, because we can understand the great gift given to us by Gauranga Mahaprabhu, who is a merciful aspect of Lord Shri Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Swayam Bhagavan, Radha Krishna combined. And it says, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratuse Namaha. So Gauranga has given us this easy method of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This method of Sankirtana is the easiest method of practicing bhakti. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hare.
Good. Up to number 12 now.
Yes. Sucho deshe pratishthapya vijitasana ashanam tasmin swasti samasina rijukaya samabhyaset.
After controlling one's mind and sitting postures, one should spread a seat in a secluded and sanctified place. Sit there in an easy posture, keeping the body erect, and practice breath control.
Pranasya sodhayen margam pura kumbhakarechake pratikulena swachittam pratikulena vachittam yathasthiram achanchalam.
The yogi should clear the passage of vital air by breathing in the following manner. First, he should inhale very deeply. Then hold the breath in, and finally exhale. Or reversing the process, the yogi can first exhale, then hold the breath outside, and finally inhale. This is done so that the mind may become steady and free from external disturbances.
मनोचिराच्छाद्विरजं जित्तश्वासस्य योगिनः वायव्यग्निभ्यां यथा लोहं ध्मातं त्वज्जति वैमलम्.
The yogis who practice such breathing exercises are very soon freed from all mental disturbances, just as gold, when put into fire and fanned with air, becomes free from all impurities.
प्राणायामेर्दहे दोषान् धारणाभिश्च किल्बिषान् प्रत्याहारेण संसर्गान् ध्यानेनानीश्वरान् गुणान्.
By practicing the process of pranayama, one can eradicate the contamination of his physiological condition, and by concentrating the mind, one can become free from all sinful activities. By restraining the senses, one can free himself from material association, and by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become free from the three modes of material attachment.
यदा मनः स्वं विरजं योगेन शुशमाहितं काष्ठां भगवतो ध्याये स्वनाशाग्रावलोकनः.
When the mind is perfectly purified by this practice of yoga, one should concentrate on the tip of the nose with half-closed eyes and see the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Sorry, just running out of battery. Okay. Over to you, sir, in the room.
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hare. So, pranayama to samadhi, verses 8 to 12. Kapila goes into more detail about the yoga process of sitting postures and breath control. As such practice, one destroys the doshas in the body, pranayama, by pranayama, becomes free from material association with sense objects, prayahara, and destroys sins, dharana, become free from the modes, dhyana, can ultimately see the Supreme Lord, samadhi,
Good.
So the thing is that as we earlier mentioned, the process of, for us, we are fallen conditioned souls, and especially in Kali Yuga, Gauranga Mahaprabhu has distributed this method of Krishna consciousness, this Bhakti Marg. It is mentioned in Prem Dham Deva Stotram as follows: Krishna, 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 Nama Kirtanam, Rama, Rama, Gana, Ramya, Divya, Chanda, Nartanam, Yatra, Tatra, Krishna, Nama, Dana, Loka, Nishtaram, Prema Dham Devam Evanam, Gaura Sundaram. So in this verse, it explains like how Gauranga Mahaprabhu mercifully distributed this Hare Krishna Mahamantra to one and everyone. In this way, this method of Krishna Bhakti has been emphasized for us, fallen conditions in Kali Yuga. So in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami has explained about like 20 devotional activities, starting with accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master, becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him, obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion, and following in the footsteps of great Acharya. It continues on like that. So there are 20. And in a summary form, Rupa Goswami has summarized the essential aspect as follows: without following the above mentioned 10 principles, one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti or devotional service in practice. Altogether, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 20 items, and all of them are very important. Out of the 20, the first 3, namely accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, taking initiation from him, and serving him with respect and reverence, are the most important for our practice of sadhana bhakti. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hare.
Thank you. And now it's up to 19.
प्रसन्नवदनाम्भोजम् पद्मगर्भानुरेक्षणम् नीलोत्पलदलश्यामम् शङ्खचक्रगदाधरम्.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead has a cheerful lotus-like countenance, with ruddy eyes like the interior of a lotus, and a swarthy body like the petals of a blue lotus. He bears a conch, discus, and mace in 3 of his hands.
लषत्पङ्कजकिञ्जल्का पीतकौशेयवाशसम् श्रीवत्सवक्षनं भ्राजत् कौस्तुभामुक्तखण्डरम्.
His loins are covered by a shining cloth, yellowish like the filaments of a lotus. On his breast he bears the mark of Srivatsa, a curl of white hair. The brilliant Kaustubha gem is suspended from his neck.
मत्तद्विरेफकलया परितं वनमालया परार्ध्यहारवलया किरीटाङ्गदनूपुरम्.
He also wears around his neck a garland of attractive sylvan flowers, and a swarm of bees, intoxicated by its delicious fragrance, hums about the garland. He is further superbly adorned with a pearl necklace, a crown, and pairs of armlets, bracelets, and anklets.
काञ्चीगुणोल्लच्छद्श्रोणिम् हृदयाम्भुजविष्टरम् दर्शनीयतमं शान्तं मनोनयनवर्धनम्.
His loins and hips encircled by a girdle, he stands on the lotus of his devotee's heart. He is most charming to look at, and his serene aspect gladdens the eyes and souls of the devotees who behold him.
Api cha darshanam shashvat sarvaloka namaskritam santam vayasi kaishore bhrityanugraha kataram.
The Lord is eternally very beautiful, and is worshippable by all the inhabitants of every planet. He is ever youthful and always eager to bestow his blessings upon his devotees.
Kirtanya tirtha yashasham punyasloka yashashkaram dhyaye devam samagrangam yavanna chavate manaha.
The glory of the Lord is always worth singing, for his glories enhance the glories of his devotees. One should therefore meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and upon his devotees. One should meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed.
Hitam vrajantam ashinam sayanam vaguhashayam prekshaniye hitam dhyayet chuddha bhavena chetasha.
Thus, always merged in devotional service, the yogi visualizes the Lord standing, moving, lying down, or sitting within him. For the pastimes of the Supreme Lord are always beautiful and attractive.
Okay. Surinder, you may be muted.
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari. Sorry. The Lord's form for performing dhyana, 13 to 19. Within himself, the perfect yogi sees the all-attractive eternal form of the Lord. Cheerful lotus-like countenance, loins covered by shining cloth, yellowish like lotus filaments, healthy red eyes like the interior of the lotus, like that, resembling the lotus. Yes, and dark complexioned body like petals of a blue lotus. So in teachings of Queen Kunti, there is one verse which refers different parts of the body of Lord Shri Krishna with reference to the lotus flower. So the verse is as follows. Nama pankaja nabhaya, nama pankaja maline, nama pankaja netraya, namaste pankajangrahe. So this way, different parts of the body of the Lord described with reference to lotus flower, beautiful. Yes. And this one, is it for the next moment, or we continue like that?
From here, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the Lord's form for performing dhyana, verses 13 to 19. Within him,
you can start from here. Srivatsa mark.
yeah, Srivatsa mark, curl of white hair on breast, Kaustubha gem suspended from his neck, priceless pearl necklace, brackets, crown, armlets and anklets, loins and hips is encircled by a girdle, stand on the lotus of the devotee's heart, most charming to look at the serene aspects, gladdens the eyes, mind, and heart of the devotees, eternally very beautiful, worshipable by all inhabitants of every planet, situated in youth and boyhood, eager to bestow blessings upon his devotee, worth singing his glories enhance the glory of the devotees, garland of forest flowers humming with intoxicated bees. One should meditate upon all the limbs until the mind becomes fixed. Yes. So in this way, it has been emphasized that we should fix our mind in the transcendental form of the Lord. So when we come in front of the deity of the Lord, say for example, we have Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Sham Sundar Giridhari Jiu. So we have to think of the Lord and meditate on the form of the Lord, starting from the lotus feet and gradually to the thigh, abdomen, chest, and head. In this way, and always we should think about rendering nice service to the Lord and his devotees. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Thank you. Wonderful. So up to now, up to 33. So there you go.
तस्मिल्लब्धपदं चेत्तं सर्वावयव संस्थितं विलक्ष्यैकत्र संयोज्यात् अंगे भगवतो मुनिः.
In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord.
सञ्चेतयेद्भगवतश्चरणारविन्दं व्रजराङ्कुशध्वजसरोरुहलाञ्छनाढ्यम् उटुङ्गरक्तविलसन् नखचक्रवाल ज्योत्स्नाभिराहतमहदृधयान्धकारम्.
The devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of a thunderbolt, a god, a banner, and a lotus. The splendor of their beautiful ruby nails resemble the orb of the moon and dispels the thick gloom of one's heart.
यचिचोषनिसृष्टसरित्प्रवरोदकेन तीर्थेन मूर्ध्नि अधिकृतेन शिवः शिवोऽभूत् ध्यातुर्मनः समलशैलनिसृष्टव्रज्रं ध्याये चिरं भगवतश्चरणारविन्दम्.
The blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time.
जानूद्वयं जलजलोचनया जनन्या लक्ष्म्याखिलस्य सुरवन्दितया विधातुः ऊर्वो निधाय करापलवरुचिषायत् संलालितं हृदि विभोरभवस्य कुर्यात्.
The yogi should fix in his heart the activities of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all demigods and is the mother of the Supreme Person Brahma. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the Transcendental Lord very carefully, serving him in this way.
उरु सुपर्णभुजयोरधिशोभमाना ओजो निधीयत शिखा कुसुमावभासो व्यालम्बितवरवासशिवर्तमान काञ्ची कलापपरिरम्भिति नितम्बबिम्बम्.
Next, the yogi should fix his mind in meditation on the personality of Godhead's thighs, the storehouse of all energy. The Lord's thighs are whitish blue, like the luster of the linseed flower, and appear most graceful when the Lord is carried on the shoulders of Garuda. Also, the yogi should contemplate his rounded hips, which are encircled by a girdle that rests on the exquisite yellow silk cloth that extends down to his ankles.
नाभिहृदं भुवनकोशगुहोदरस्थं यत्रात्मयोनिधिशनाखिललोकपद्मं व्युद्धं हरिन्मनिविश्व वक्षस्तनयोरमुष्य ध्यायेद्वयं विशदहारमयूखगौरम्.
The yogi should then meditate on his moon-like navel in the center of his abdomen. From his navel, which is the foundation of the entire universe, sprang the lotus stem containing all the different planetary systems. The lotus is the residence of Brahma, the first created being. In the same way, the yogi should concentrate his mind on the Lord's nipples, which resemble a pair of most exquisite emeralds, and which appear whitish because of the rays of the milk-white pearl necklaces adorning his chest.
वक्षोधिवासं वृषभस्य महाविभूतेः पुंसां मनोनयनानिवृत्तिमादधानम् कण्ठं च कौस्तुभमणेरधिभूषणार्थं कैर्यान् मनसि अखिलालोकनमस्कृतस्य.
The yogi should then meditate on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the abode of Goddess Mahalakshmi. The Lord's chest is the source of all transcendental pleasure for the mind and full satisfaction for the eyes. The yogi should then imprint on his mind the neck of the Personality of Godhead, who is adorned by the entire universe. The neck of the Lord serves to enhance the beauty of the Kaustubha gem, which hangs on his chest.
बाहुंश्च मन्दरगिरेः परिवर्तनेन निर्निक्तबाहुवलयानधिलोकपालान् सञ्चिन्तयेद्दशसतारमसहाय तेजः शङ्खं च तत्परः सरोरुहराजहंसम्.
The yogi should further meditate upon the Lord's four arms, which are the source of all the powers of the demigods who control the various functions of material nature. Then the yogi should concentrate on the polished ornaments which were burnished by Mount Mandara as it revolved. He should also daily contemplate the Lord's discus, the Sudarshan Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes and a dazzling luster, as well as the conch, which looks like a swan in his lotus-like palm.
कौमोदकीं भगवतो दयितां स्मरेत दिग्धाम् अरातिभत सोनितकर्दमेन मालां मधुव्रतवरुथा गिरुपागोष्ठां चैतस्य तद्वं अमलं मणिमस्य कण्ठे.
The yogi should meditate upon his club, which is named Kaumodaki and is very dear to him. This club smashes the demons who are always inimical soldiers and is smeared with their blood. One should also concentrate on the nice garland on the neck of the Lord, which is always surrounded by bumblebees with their nice buzzing sound, and one should meditate upon the pearl necklace on the Lord's neck, which is considered to represent the pure living entities who are always engaged in his service.
भृत्यानुकम्पिता दीर्हा ग्रहीतमूर्तेः सञ्चिन्तयेद्भगवतो वदनारविन्दम् यद्विस्फुरन् मकरकुण्डलवर्गितेन विद्योतितामलकपोलं मुदारनाशम्.
The yogi should then meditate on the lotus-like countenance of the Lord, who presents his different forms in this world out of compassion for the anxious devotees. His nose is prominent, and his crystal-clear cheeks are illuminated by the oscillation of his glittering alligator-shaped earrings.
यच्छ्रेणिकेतमलिभिः परिसेव्यमानं भूत्या स्वया कुटीलकुण्टलवृन्दजुष्टम् मीनाद्वयाश्रयम् अधिक्षिपदब्जनेत्रम् ध्यायेन्मनोमयम् मतन्द्रित्तौलशद्भ्रू.
The yogi then meditates upon the beautiful face of the Lord, which is adorned with curly hair and decorated by lotus-like eyes and dancing eyebrows. A lotus surrounded by swarming bees and a pair of swimming fish would be put to shame by its elegance.
तस्यावलोकम् अधिकं कृपयाति घोर तापत्रयोपशमनाय निसृष्टमक्ष्णोः स्निग्धस्मितानुगुणितं विपुलप्रसादं ध्याये चिरं विपुलभावनया गुहायाम्.
The yogis should contemplate with full devotion and compassionate glances frequently cast by the Lord's eyes, for they soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of his devotees. His glances, accompanied by loving smiles, are full of abundant grace.
हासं हरेरवनताखिललोकतीव्र शोकाश्रुसागरविशोषणमत्युदारम् सम्मोहनाय रचितं निजमाययास्य भ्रूमण्डलं मुनिकृते मकरध्वजस्य.
A yogi should similarly meditate on the most benevolent smile of Lord Sri Hari, a smile which for all those who bow to him dries away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. The yogi should also meditate on the Lord's arched eyebrows, which are manifested by his internal potency, in order to charm the sex group for the good of the sages.
ध्यानायनं प्रहसितं बहुलाधरोष्ठ भासारुणायिततनूद्विजकुण्डपङ्क्ति ध्यायेत् स्वधेन कुहरे वशितस्य विष्णोर्भक्त्यार्द्रयार्पितमना न पृथग् दिदृक्षे.
With devotion steeped in love and affection, the yogi should meditate within the core of his heart upon the laughter of Lord Vishnu. The laughter of Lord Vishnu is so captivating that it can be easily meditated upon. When the Supreme Lord is laughing, one can see his small teeth, which resemble jasmine buds, rendered rosy by the splendor of his lips. Once devoting his mind to this, the yogi should no longer desire to see anything else.
Wow, that's an amazing description. Okay. Over to you, Surinder.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. So, Transcendental Meditation, verses 20 to 33. The yogi should meditate on each of the Lord's limbs from his lotus feet. So, the lotus feet marked with a thunderbolt, gold, banner, and lotus. Splendor, beautiful ruby nails resembling orbit of moon. Lord Shiva became blessed by bearing Ganga water that washed Lord's feet on his head, dispels the gloom of one's heart, acts like thunderbolts on the mountains of sin in the mind. So it purifies our mind. Janu, below knees and slash calves. Fix in heart the activities of Lakshmi, who is always found massaging the Lord's legs and thighs. And then we meditate on thighs, whitish blue like the luster of linseed flower, appear most graceful when the Lord is on Garuda's shoulder, storehouse of all energy. Hips, rounded and circled by a girdle that rests on the exquisite yellow silk cloth that go down to his ankles. Navel, moon-like in the center of his abdomen, foundation of the whole universe, from where lotus stem comes, containing the planetary systems. And then it comes again down to the nipples, resemble a pair of most exquisite emeralds, appear which, because of the rays of the milk white pearl necklaces adoring his chest. Next, we meditate on the chest, abode of goddess of Mahalakshmi, source of pleasure for the mind and full satisfaction for the eyes. And then the neck, enhance the beauty of Kustubha gem on his chest. Arms, source of all power of demigods, controllers of nature's functions. Sudarshana chakra, 1,000 spokes, dazzling luster. Conch looks like a swan in a lotus-like palm. And then the club, very dear to him, smashes the inimical demons and is smeared with their blood. Mala, the garland, always surrounded by bumblebees with a nice buzzing sound. Pearl necklace represents the pure living entities who are always engaged in the service. Like that. So, lotus face, lotus-like countenance, Lord comes in different forms in this world out of compassion for anxious devotees. Nose is prominent. Crystal clear cheeks are illuminated by oscillation of his glittering alligator-shaped earrings, adorned with curly hair and decorated by lotus-like eyes, dancing eyebrows. Eyes soothes the most fearful threefold agonies of his devotees. The glance, accompanied by loving smiles, are full of abundant grace. Eyebrows, manifested by his internal potency in order to charm Cupid for good of the sages. Laughter, so captivating that it can easily be meditated upon. Small teeth resemble jasmine buds, rendered rosy by the splendor of his lips. Once devoting his mind to this, the yogi no longer desires to see anything else. So in this way, this process of meditation on Paramatma. Paramatma is known as Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, the four-handed Vishnu. There are three Vishnus, Mahavishnu, and then Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and then Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. So the Paramatma form in the yogi's heart is the form of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. And it has been very nicely described, the form of Vishnu. And then there are other devotees, say for example in Ranganath, devotees are worshipping Lakshmi Narayan over there. And Narayan is also four-handed like that. So all is on a spiritual gradation. We are most welcome to meditate on the Paramatma form, Kshirodakshayi form in our heart. Also, devotees can worship Lakshmi Narayan, just like the devotees Ranganath they do. But Gauranga Mahaprabhu has given us the great gift of Brahma Samhita. And in Prem Dham Deva Stotram it follows, Brahma Samhita Kya Krishna Bhakti Shastra Dayakam Krishna Karna Sidhu Nama Krishna Kavya Gayakam Shri Pratap Rudra Raja Sirsa Sevya Mandiram Prema Dham Devam Eva Nomi Gaura Sundaram. So Brahma Samhita is a gift given to us by Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And in Brahma Samhita, it has been emphasized by Lord Brahma, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So our Guru Varga and Lord Brahma and Gauranga Mahaprabhu has emphasized that we should worship Radha Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna in Vrindavan. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna combined. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we should meditate and worship Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Then the best way is by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Thank you.
Very good. And these descriptions are very important because it gives us the potential to have darshan of the Lord through our ears. Our eyes can mislead, but we can hear these bona fide scriptures and get a great deal of information about the Supreme Lord. And it's worth reading these verses again and again because these are describing what the Lord looks like, which is really phenomenal.
Yes, Prabhu. That's it.
Sorry?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes, very good, Prabhu. Yes. We should sing the glories of the Lord's beautiful description. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. So 38, up to 38 now.
एवं हरो भगवती प्रतिलब्ध भावो भक्त्या द्रवहृदया उत्पुलकः प्रमोदात् उत्कण्ठ बाष्पकलया मुहुरर्ज्यमानस् चापि चित्तबदिशं सनकैर्वियुङ्क्ते.
By following this course, the yogi gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. In the course of his progress in devotional service, the hairs on his body stand erect through excessive joy, and he is constantly bathed in a stream of tears occasioned by intense love. Gradually, even the mind, which he used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity.
मुक्ताश्रयं यर्हि निर्विषयं विरक्तं निर्वाणमृच्छति मनः सहसा यथार्ची आत्मानमत्र पुरुषो व्यवधानमेकम् अन्वीक्षते प्रतिनिवृत्तगुणप्रवाह.
When the mind is thus completely freed from all material contamination and detached from material objectives, it is just like the flame of a lamp. At that time, the mind is actually dovetailed with that of the Supreme Lord and is experienced as one with Him because it is freed from the interactive flow of the material qualities.
सोऽपि इतयचरमया मनसो निवृत्त्या तस्मिन् महिम्निरवशितः सुखदुःखबाह्ये हेतुर्वमपि अशक्ति कर्तरि दुःखायुर्यत् स्वात्मन् विधत्तौ लब्ध परमात्मकाष्ठः.
Thus situated in the highest transcendental stage, the mind ceases from all material reaction and becomes situated in its own glory, transcendental to all material conceptions of happiness and distress. At that time, the yogi realizes the truth of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He discovers that pleasure and pain, as well as their interactions, which he attributed to his own self, are actually due to the false ego, which is a product of ignorance.
देहं च तं न चरमः स्थितं उत्थितं वा सिद्धो विपश्यति यतोऽध्यगमत्स्वरूपम् दैवादुपेतमथ दैववशादपेतं वासो यथा परिकृतं मदिरामदान्धः.
Because he has achieved his real identity, the perfectly realized soul has no conception of how the material body is moving or acting, just as an intoxicated person cannot understand whether or not he has clothing on his body.
देहोऽपि दैववशतः खलु कर्म यावत् स्वारम्भकं प्रतिशामीक्षतैव सासुः तं सः प्रपञ्चम् अधिरुद्ध समाधियोग स्वाप्नं पुनर्न भजते प्रतिबुद्धवस्तुः.
The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it functions until its destined activities are finished. The liberated devotee, being awake to his constitutional position, and thus situated in samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of yoga, does not accept the byproducts of the material body as his own. Thus, he considers his bodily activities to be like the activities of a body in a dream.
Yes, so Hare Krishna. So we're reading Symptoms of Liberation, verses 34 to 38. When the yogi has thus developed pure love for the Lord, his body exhibits ecstatic symptoms such as hair standing and crying. He becomes detached from bodily identification because the Lord takes full charge of his body, and he experiences the activities of the body like a dream. So in this way, some progress of the yogi while performing this yogic meditation is described. So at some point, ecstatic symptoms of ecstatic happiness is manifested as standing of the hair and crying, just like in so in Shikshastakam, Guranga Mahaprabhu has explained that the first thing we need to do is Chetu Darpana Marjanam, cleansing of the mirror of the mind by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, his love and devotion. And then gradually, by practicing this method of bhakti, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and rendering devotional service to the devotees of the Lord and the Lord himself, then we will come to the point of, we may come at some point to the stage of manifesting these symptoms of ecstasy. So it says we are aspiring to reach that state. So in Shikshastakam it says, Nayanam Galadashru Dharaya Vadanam Gadgadharudhaya Gira Ulakar Nichitam Vapu Kada Tava Nama Grahane Bhavishyati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So now it's to the end. So good.
यथा पुत्राच् च वित्ताच् च पृथन्मर्त्यः प्रतीयते अपि आत्मत्वेनाभिमतात् देहादेहि पुरुषस्तथा.
Because of great affection for family and wealth, one accepts the son and some money as his own, and due to affection for the material body, one thinks that it is his. But actually, as one can understand that his family and wealth are different from him, the liberated soul can understand that he and his body are not the same.
यथोर्मुखाद् विस्फुलिङ्गात् धूमाद्वापि स्वसम्भवात् अपि आत्मत्वेनाभिमतात् यथा पृथक् उल्मुखात्.
The blazing fire is different from the flames, from the sparks, and from the smoke, although all are intimately connected because they are born from the same blazing wood.
भूतेन्द्रियान्तः करणात् प्रधान्यात् जीव संहितात् आत्मा तथा पृथग् द्रष्टा भगवान् ब्रह्म संहितः.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Param Brahma, is the seer. He is different from the Jiva soul, or individual living entity, who is combined with the senses, the five elements, and consciousness.
सर्वभूतेषु चात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि ईक्षितानन्यभावेन भूतेष्वैव तदात्मताम्.
A yogi should see the same soul in all manifestations, for all that exists is a manifestation of different energies of the Supreme. In this way, the devotee should see all living entities without distinction. That is realization of the Supreme Soul.
स्वयोनिषु यथा ज्योतिर्एकं नाना प्रतीयते योनिनां गुणवैषम्यात् तथात्मा प्रकृतो स्थितः.
As fire is exhibited in different forms of wood, so, under different conditions of the modes of material nature, the pure spirit soul manifests itself in different bodies.
तस्माद् इमां स्वां प्रकृतिं दैवीं सदसदात्मिकां दुर्विभाव्यां पराभाव्य स्वरूपेणावतिष्ठते. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
Thus, the yogi can be in the self-realized position after conquering the insurmountable spell of Maya, who presents herself as both the cause and effect of this material manifestation, and is therefore very difficult to understand. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you both of you. Amazing. Okay.
Yes. So self-realization, verses 39 to 44. Just as a person is different from his son and wealth, though he identifies with them, the soul is different from his body. Liberated souls can understand this, just as fire is different from wood, sparks and smoke, etc. The Lord is also different from the soul combined with the senses, five elements, and consciousness. The perfect yogi sees how all living entities are the same on the spiritual platform, only seeming to be different according to the different bodies they inhabit. So, it is said, it is explained by Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnara Nitya Das, Das Das Anudas. So, as Krishna Das and Das Das Anudas, this is our true identity, true ego. And the false ego is when we identify ourselves with the body and with members of family. It is an extended false ego, and also to the country, etc. It goes on like extended false ego. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu has explained that we are spirit souls, servant of Krishna, Krishna's servant. This is our true identity. And then in Shikshastakam, Gauranga Mahaprabhu has said, Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadish kamaye mama janmanis janmanisvare bhavatad bhaktir ahai tukitwai. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu has explained that we should not be attached to, we say, for accumulating wealth. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. We don't want any name and fame by having followers. And we should not be desiring for enjoyment in the company of women. And we just, birth after birth, we aspire to be the servant of Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Shyam Sundar Giridhari Ji unconditionally. This is our prayer, and this is the goal of life, to be the servant of Hari Guru Vaishnava. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhu. We cannot hear you. Maybe you're on mute, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Swendra Prabhu and Anand Lila and Lena. Very important chapter, this one, because it describes the Lord, describes the process of bhakti or sankhya. But it's tough in this age to follow sankhya yoga, but bhakti yoga we have, luckily. And as Swendra Prabhu very nicely says, the Maha Mantra is the essence of this bhakti yoga. So we're very, very fortunate to be in this position and to have such a scripture where such descriptions are given of the Supreme Lord. Any questions, any comments by anybody? And here we can have darshan of these beautiful deities, which Radha Krishna, very, very gorgeous. So thank you so much, Lena. So we can stop there.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
verses. It's so many amazing and well chanted, Nandlila. Very, very well chanted. Thank
Hare
you.
Yes,
Krishna, Prabhu.
beautifully chanted.
Thank you for
Yes.
giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Anand Lila. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everybody.
Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavad
Thank
Pranam.
you,
Hare
everybody.
Krishna.